that about says it, doesn't it? So welcome to my corner of despair, where we will be sad about it together. And this is going to be a therapy session where we have the difficult conversation that we need to have heading into week 3 of the season after this week 2 embarrassment handed to us by the Indianapolis Colts. Um, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. This team's not good. It's just not good. You can say what you want. Um, it's young. It's inexperienced. We didn't have preseason. We didn't have, the traditional training camps, rookie mini camps. We don't have Daniil Hunter. Those are all excuses. And all excuses belong in the garbage can, where also this team currently resides. You want to make excuses for this. This is inexcusable. You cannot go out on the road against an Indianapolis Colts team that just lost to the Jaguars last week, which, maybe isn't that bad after all because they just gave the Titans a run for their money. But this Indianapolis Colts team isn't a team that should embarrass you like this. If you want to get embarrassed like this against the Ravens, that's probably fine. But when you are absolutely 100% not competitive for three and a half quarters, and you can't put it in the end zone until the fourth quarter when it does not matter anymore, there's a problem. And the problem is that this roster is not ready, it is not experienced enough, and it is not talented enough where it matters. You win football games by being the better team in the trenches, and this team does not have it on either side. There is no way that my preseason prediction of this team winning the division and going 10-6 is occurring anymore. The Packers are way too good. The rest of the conference is way too good. And we are probably going to be competing for a top 10 draft pick this next year if this continues. That may all sound drastic, and it may all sound like I am jumping off the cliff and being unreasonable. You watch that game today. You watch the highlights from that game today, and you tell me what there was to take away from that, because the answer is nothing. You look at the box score, you look at the statistics from all the players. There isn't a single silver lining, glimmer of hope, or something positive that you can point to, other than, hey, at least we didn't get shut out. There's nothing. There is absolutely zero to take away from this game. Take the tape, throw it in the trash, throw it in the fire, burn it. This didn't happen. But unfortunately it did. So for the first time in the Mike Zimmer era, the Vikings start 0-2, and there is nowhere to go there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go. I don't remember what the exact statistic is of teams that start 0-2, but as far as a playoff berth right now, that is going to be extraordinarily difficult to achieve because we have dug ourselves in a hole. The schedule coming up is not easy. We get the Titans next week. Derrick Henry is going to run for 250 yards against this defense that just got gashed by a rookie for 101 yards and a touchdown. I don't see any positives going forward, and this season might be in trouble. Now you're probably wondering, why would you say all of this after 2 weeks? There's still a ton of football left to be played. I've been watching the Vikings for how long? 20 some years now, 25, 28 years, as long as I can remember. When this team plays like this, it does not win games. And if you're an NFL team that plays like this, you don't win games. So really, I tried to wait as long as I could after the game was over to make this video because you don't want initial knee-jerk reactions that are uncouth and just sort of ultra hyper despair or ultra hyper what have you when you win, which I wouldn't know what that feels like apparently, because you don't want to say the wrong things. But at the same time, I thought about it for about 30 minutes, and I was like, maybe it is the right take to be hitting the panic button after 2 weeks, because for one thing, losing at football is not a bad thing. You lose sometimes. Even good teams go 10-6, 11-5, 9-7. So you're going to lose your fair share. It's going to happen. Not every season is going to be 13-3. It's just unrealistic to expect that. But on the other hand of that, on the other side, is the fact that losing and being completely non-competitive is a disaster, and it needs to be called out. There is no reason to believe that this team or its players or its coaching staff are above criticism for the start of the season that they have put on the field. This product is garbage. It is hot, stinking garbage. It is unwatchable, dare I say dog shit. So they have to figure something out quickly, otherwise there's going to be no point in continuing on this season. We're going to start looking towards the draft for next season. Um, it is what it is, and you can criticize me in the comments all you want that this is an overreaction. I don't think it is. I think if you look back to the off season, that's where it started, and even I was naive enough to think that it was going to work out because I hammered home, trust the Mike Zimmer process. He's never had a bad defense since he's been here. He's never had a losing record since he's been here. Um, and maybe this is just finally catching up to them. You look back to the offseason, you trade away one of your best weapons on offense and hope to replace it with a rookie wide receiver in a pandemic year where we didn't have, rookie mini camp and training camp and all that stuff. And wide receiver is one of the hardest positions to transition into in the NFL, and it takes them a number of years. And then you don't have a confident wide receiver three. BC Johnson is just a possession receiver with good hands. Let's just call it what it is. So he's force feeding everything to Adam Thielen, and it's not working. 3 interceptions today, 100 and some yards, absolutely pathetic performance. He's not good. Kirk Cousins is not good. He's been exceptionally average for his entire career. And I understand why Vikings fans want to defend him and continue to defend him, because the alternative is what we've experienced in the past, where we have experienced exceptionally less than average with the Tavares Jackson years, the Christian Ponder years, even that one game with Josh Freeman that still haunts all of us to this day. So, in the fear of receding back to that level of quarterback play, we are willing to accept just 1 or 2 steps above it in the exceptionally average category, and that's what he is, and that's all he's ever going to be, especially with this offense. So I don't know what the answer is, but the answer currently is not on this roster. So we've got a long way to go, and it's questionable how good this team is going to do. I think the best they can probably achieve right now is 6-10. I'll have to go over the schedule and look at it. Maybe we'll revisit this in a number of days. One of the things that I wanted to wait before I made this video was the post-game press conference, and I didn't get the answers from that I wanted either. Mike Zimmer said, quote, "We can't start winning until we stop losing," which is an empty fucking platitude. Just say what you want to say. Now, he did point that's half the quote. The other half is, they keep beating themselves up with interceptions, sacks, safeties, which is the second straight week with the safety because he holds the ball for 20 minutes too long. That segues to the next quote. Cousins didn't play very good, quote by Mike Zimmer. No kidding. Another quote by Mike Zimmer regarding the inexperienced secondary, quote, "The game plan was simple enough for them this week that they shouldn't have been making very many mistakes." That's a huge red flag. That if you're simplifying your defense as much as you can to make sure that inconsistent young players don't make mistakes and they still go out and make mistakes, we're going to be in for a long season. We're going to make some quarterbacks in this league look very good. We have Ryan Tannehill and the Titans next week. I'm starting Jonnu Smith and Corey Davis on my fantasy team for sure. As I said, it's the first 0-2 start in the Zimmer era, so that's one of the reasons you can point to be a little bit disparaged this evening. And the thing is that we didn't have a chance in either game. The Packers game, we were out of it after the first quarter. This game took a little bit longer, but we were still very uncompetitive. This team just looks like it's not ready for the season, like it needed 4 preseason games. And like I said, those are all excuses. The fact that we don't have Danielle Hunter, the fact that we didn't have preseason, that doesn't matter to all the other teams around the leagues. I mean, you look at the 49ers, yes, they played the Jets today, but look how much they've lost, how many injuries they had today, and they still won a football game. They still looked competent and competitive. There's just no excuse anymore. Kirk Cousins has to figure it out. This coaching staff has to figure it out, and they need to figure it out quick, which is the same thing that Mike Zimmer said, but with some more goddamn urgency. Quote by Kirk Cousins in the post-game press conference. Quote, "Tough to explain all that went on unless I watch it and see what took place." I don't want to make excuses for this guy. That to me screams zero accountability for a completely poor performance. Just to go up there and admit that you played terrible. We all saw it. We don't need to watch the film. There is nothing from this film that you're going to be able to see other than that you made bad decisions and some of the bounces didn't go your way. And I'm going to get defenders be like, well, this interception's not his fault. It was a Hail Mary. Okay, big deal. He's not good. I hate to tell you that. Even if he comes out next week against the Titans and completely balls out and has 400 yards, 4 scores, I'm not going to change my opinion. My opinion's been the same on him for 4 years now. He's not a good quarterback. He's exceptionally average. So that is where we are with the Minnesota Vikings. Better days are ahead. I don't believe we're completely going to wind up with the position draft like a Trevor Lawrence or a Justin Fields. We'll probably win enough games to not be in that realm. And even if we were, we're probably taking a first round corner like Caleb Farley from Virginia Tech, um, which would be hilarious in that juncture. So that's pretty much going to do it for this video. There is no one thing to point to that was bad today because everything is very not good. And it's hard as a football fan to have these high expectations every year, and then after 2 weeks you're basically treading water. So we'll see where it goes from here. We got the Titans next week, which is not good because Derrick Henry is very good and Tannehill looks completely resurrected from his days in Miami. So we have a tough road ahead of us, and we'll revisit this later in the week and see where we are with post-game press conferences, or post-practice press conferences, if you will, and see what if they make any roster moves, which they can't because they have no cap space. So that's going to do it. Thank you for the Gripe Fest, and see you in the next one.